Live here on a Monday, this is ForceCenter, a show about Star Wars pop culture and the ultimate adventure, life itself. I'm Ken Napzok.
I'm Joseph Scrimshaw, and we're live on a Monday. That is great.
Live indeed to talk some Star Wars news, catch up, Star Wars life adventures, all the stuff that we normally get to on Mondays. And thanks to those who are joining live. If you're watching later, drop a comment on YouTube, stay part of the later crew. If you're listening on the podcast, find us on Blue Sky Threads and say, hey, I'm listening later too as well. As always, before we get to that, we'd like to let you know that our show is sponsored by our own merch shop on Fourth Wall. Check out Fourth Wall, represent ForceCenter out in the galaxy. Maybe at Star Wars Celebration if you got tickets, but even if you didn't, we're going to talk about that. Go ahead and maybe pick up a shirt and tell people, I don't need conventions. I got this shirt. What am I saying? I don't know. Go to forcecenter-shop.fourthwall.com, forcecenter-shop.fourthwall.com. That is our sponsor. A little bad news in Star Wars community last week because of the tickets, but Joseph, personally, we got some good news here. Thank you to our Force Center friends. We hit our goal, and now we're adding to it.
That's right. It's amazing when you set goals and then they're reached, and it is all because of the kindness of all of you out there being a part of the Force Center community. We set a goal to get to 400 paid patrons on our Patreon by the release of The Mandalorian and Grogu, and we reached that. As of this recording, we're at 401. We would love to get up to 407. Why? Safety, because quite understandably, people have to jump in and out of Patreon, and we'd love to get to 400. And I guess really the goal is to stay there. So getting a little bit above the goal, since we still got time before Mandalorian and Grogu is released. It will be here momentarily, but we're excited to get there. The Force Center community, it's great to see the Force Center community growing. It's great to see some new names and faces in the Patreon. It's great to look back at some questions and that have been asked in the past and have a stronger connection to the faces because of all of these live streams and call-ins. So thank you all so much for being part of the community. Also wanted to highlight this greeting as everybody greets each other in the chat, Ken. Mumbo Jimbo said, hello to Force Center and also to similar enthusiasts of interstellar political instability. I believe that was the original title of Star Wars when Lucas's friends convinced him, you need one of those marketable titles.
Yeah. It's called Luke Starkiller, The Adventures of Interstellar Political Stability as Told by the Wills, Part 1. Yes.
Based on the Empire of America. Yeah. And also want to thank people for super chats. They are, of course, very helpful in a little bit of a struggling time here financially for Force Center. So they're very, very appreciated. Scott McCrate says, can't wait for the Bo-Katan versus Rook cast convo. Rook has my vote. And Scott McCrate has got a question here, or rather really kind of a comment about Spybot that we should chat about at some point during the show here, Ken.
Absolutely agree with that. Spybot on Friday, Force Center Now, was our character of the day. And thanks to all those who called in and had to say something nice about Spybot. No one felt forced, but that's the rules now on Friday. Character of the day, you call in, you have to say something nice about him, then you can get to your question. So there you go. There you go. Star Wars Life Adventures, a lot to get to. We talked about it on Friday, and thanks to all those that called in and vented, kvetched, and I think justifiably complained about what happened with the Star Wars Celebration ticket fiasco. It was on Wednesday, and I think by now everyone knows. We're not going to remix it here completely. I haven't followed up on it. Had a lot of stuff going on the weekend, I will say. So I don't know if there's been any official kind of Lucasfilm Star Wars Disney acknowledgement of the fiasco. Probably not. I know there's been, Reed Pop says we're going to follow up with the scalpers and those kind of things. But beyond that, I think, it was just frustrating. You hate to see the fandom kind of have this collective scream as if 1,000 voices cried out at one here. So it was tough. We were fortunate, one of the fortunate ones to get tickets relatively easy. And it was completely random. My friend Billy signed in at the same time as me, never got tickets. 6 hours later, I had some in about 3 for Force Center, but it's a lot. So we'll turn the corner. We'll turn the page. I'm pretty sure tickets will open up again, and things can happen, and it's a year away. So don't give up hope if you're not going. But that was definitely a negative Star Wars adventure, Joseph. But I've also been rewatching The Mandalorian to kind of get my Star Wars spirits up and ready for the movie, and it's been going good as well. So that's it for my Star Wars adventures.
There's a lot of good life adventures, Star Wars adventures. People who are watching know that one of my main Star Wars adventures right now is my blue light turning on and off. So hopefully it will decide where it wants to be. Maybe it is also being run by Reed Pop. Yeah, huge thank you to Ken. In the past, I have picked up the tickets and I couldn't. It was in my calendar and everything, and I couldn't. I was like, Ken, please. So thank you for doing that and for dealing with it. I'm just not even going to try to turn the light on again. It's so frustrating because there are supply and demand issues, and that is always a sad part of something you want to be celebratory. I always have a mixed relationship with San Diego Comic-Con because the message every time you get into a panel or into a party is what a great community. But it's just an entire weekend of scraping to like, could I get the action figure I wanted? Did I stand in all the right lines? Could I get into the panel? I'm in the back of the panel. Can I ask a question? Can I get a sandwich at this place? No, I can't even get a sandwich at this place. Like, to be so consumed with the supply and demand of it is already hard to still keep that celebratory attitude. But then when just like everything from, conventions to action figures is that's like, we shouldn't have to work this hard to love something, especially when it's like, we have the money and we would like to give it to you. So it's so frustrating. And I understand it needing to be randomized, but the long waits and the poor communication, my heart goes out to everybody.
Yeah, that was it. Some of the limits or lack of limits on certain tickets and all stuff. Not to remix it. And I get like conventions are big business now. It is not 20 years ago. It is not 30 years ago where there was 4 card tables and some free cookies at the door. It's business. It's something giant. So I'm not surprised the supply and demand and the selling out and all that stuff. Again, the communication. So as we talked on Friday, but I actually forgot to confirm with you, Joseph, but I'm going to take a shot and say that you agree with this. We are, as always, when we're there, we'll do a ForceCenter meetup, but we're going to make sure that when we do the meetup, we're going to try to do it outside of the convention so that anyone who's in the area without tickets on, say, Friday, Saturday, but have Thursday, Sunday, can still come and try to meet up with us there. So you're out, but we're already planning it.
Yeah, no, absolutely. There's so much to plan a year out. And you said your other Star Wars adventure was watching The Mandalorian. And Ken and I discovered we recorded our Q's episode earlier today that will come out later. But we discovered we watched the same episode last night, only hours apart. It's amazing.
Yeah, in the same place at once, but in different time frames. And it's been fun. Starting it was just. Starting the rewatch was just a simple, hey, let me get ready for the movie. But it's pulled me back in and having fun going back to some of the episodes that I love, some of the episodes that maybe I didn't love it as much. Time heals all wounds, and you're just kind of along for the ride in a lot of them. And I'm excited to see where they take the adventures. It's working.
It is really amazing to have them have lived in my imagination and feel like I know them quite well because we talk about them a lot. But I don't know if this is happening to you, Ken. I feel like it's a natural part of the process of talking about certain episodes or certain characters where we focus on a distilled moment that we love, right? And that will be often our go-to talking point. And I'm finding on this rewatch that there's some moments where like I so focus on X part of episode that I forgot Y was in there. So I watched last night the season 2 episode, The Jedi, obviously with Ahsoka and Morgan Elsbeth, and that was fun to see with all the different things fleshed out from that. But then I talked my wife into watching the tragedy. He's like, is it time for bed or is it time for Boba Fett's knee darts? Boba Fett's knee darts. I forgot the beginning of that episode has that just beautiful, great scene where Din is so amazed by Grogu. And he says Dank Farrik when he's so impressed by Grogu's use of the Force. And it's like, no, I'm not mad. You're just really special. It's like, I spent so much time concentrating on Boba Fett's knee darts that I forgot the beauty of that scene. So that was nice.
Yes, absolutely.
My other life adventure is one where I need the chat. I need help from people in the chat or opinions from people in the chat. So I feel like Star Wars is in the air because of Mandalorian and Grogu, because I've been having a lot more
Mm-hmm.
conversations where people sort of bring up to me like, "Hey, you're a Star Wars guy, right?" Um, and I was having a chat with my friend Jessica Fenton, who stars in the short film I released recently, Victim 7, and I'm doing another one with her soon. We're doing some planning for that, and she has brought up that she has watched the first couple. Like, she's watched A New Hope and Phantom Menace a couple times because people keep trying to show it to her. And then she has said, but people keep explaining everything to her while she's watching them, so she doesn't feel like she's actually seen the films. But what came up was we were talking about about our lives during the lockdown portion of the pandemic, and I showed her the picture of when I had the long hair and the beard and the Jedi look, and she's like, "Oh, well, this makes sense because people who like Star Wars always have long hair." And it's like, do they? No, she is like 26. So different generation, different perspective. I think when you and I were growing up, Ken, long hair was like, yeah, punk rock. You like the Beatles. You're a little art, heavy metal, a little bit of an outsider. I don't feel like, I'm sure lots of people. I knew lots of geeky folks who had long hair, but I'd never associated long hair means liking Star Wars. And I was curious if that was a generational thing, or if anybody in the chat feels strongly about whether long hair means you like Star Wars. Or you see somebody walking down the street and like got long hair, like that person has a Din Djarin tattoo because they have long hair, you know?
I would love to know more about this. I think in chat, Detective Michael McCarcell is the only one who's a Star Wars fan. Name with his luscious locks. And producer Steve on the Blathering Live. I mean, I've had long hair. You've had it. I think maybe I still associate it with the '80s, which to me means if you're a Star Wars fan or just kind of any fan of any pop culture genre stuff, you have an Adam Rich 8 is enough bowl cut that your mom gave you in the back, and that's kind of what you got. And then you keep that hairstyle for maybe a little bit too long.
Yes. You have a bowl cut, a polyester shirt, and you're only allowed to celebrate birthdays at McDonald's. That meant you like Star Wars. Yeah.
Yes. Yes. Fast. I thought she was going to say beards, and then you were going to maybe see if the audience votes on you growing back your Jedi.
Yeah. Yeah. There's a lot of great reactions here. Maddie Warner says, "I have long hair and I like Star Wars."
That's true.
Will Dixon says, "What?" Rockbot Art says, "Is that like a Samson thing? The longer my hair, the stronger my love of Star Wars." I assume it's just a generational and cultural things, that different association for a different generation.
I love it. I love that stuff. I remember having a conversation about 10 years ago with someone on my podcast who described being a nerd as someone who's just really passionate about things. And I just was like, oh, yeah, that is a different meaning than what it used to be for us. Yep. But I'm glad it's your meaning. Let's go with yours.
Mm-hmm. Jeannie from Teeny says, maybe the younger crowd who grew up on the prequels have long hair like Qui-Gon. I'm an OT kid, and I too have long hair. Yeah. And maybe my friend just knew a lot of people who are just straight up cosplaying Jedi and like, I need that long hair. I got to get my Qui-Gon on. Like Jeannie from Teeny says. So that was my Star Wars adventure, having some conversations about Star Wars.
Fantastic indeed. Well, there's actually, it's a good amount of Star Wars news to discuss. We always like to go beyond the headlines and have it, the headlines start us on a conversation that might take us to different spots. But Joseph, let's dive on in and talk some Star Wars news.
Yes, we are going to dive in. I will say one other thing. I said this to Ken off air. Like when I was looking at the news, there was lots of like new detail from Mandalorian and Grogu because they're dropping all these little, 30-second commercials with other little details or this little interview. And in years past, I've just kind of felt like, well, I'm a part of a Star Wars podcast and it's my responsibility to watch every blah, blah, blah. And I'm just feeling really different. I want to be honest about it. Of like, I'm enjoying the joy of Star Wars, and I just don't want to see another damn second of this movie before I just see the movie. So if you're wondering why isn't your new show full of the movie that's about to come out? That's why. And I respect anybody. If people are like, give me, and want to watch every second, I got no problem with that. I'm talking from a totally personal point. I like to go in knowing as little as possible, and the drips are just too much for me, man.
Yeah, we always have kind of shook our fists at the sky over TV spots. We understand why they exist. We're not we understand the marketing has to happen. But yeah, I'm with you. I saw one this morning, and I have to discuss. I went to one of the IMAX sneak peeks last week. Was blessed to go to that, and I did see part of the movie, and that's a different experience to me. But I kind of needed to do it for some kind of business reasons, and I'm good. I'm enough. And so there was a TV spot this morning. I say TV spot. It's really an Instagram spot. And I was scrolling and saw something. I was like, I didn't want to see that. I want to see that. So I'm with you.
Yeah. Okay, so let's talk about some other news that is not the drip of Mandalorian and Grogu commercials. So there is a report from Variety, and here is the lead from Variety. In honor of Star Wars Day, Nielsen has shared some insights into people's viewing habits around the beloved franchise. Per Nielsen data, U.S. viewers viewed 33 billion minutes, equivalent to 550 million hours, of Star Wars content across linear TV and streaming in 2025. So those numbers are all from 2025, so keep that in mind. Variety goes on. The Star Wars films accounted for the biggest share of the viewing at 44.2%. The live-action shows made up 38.9%, while Star Wars animated projects accounted for 16.8%. And now the hard part. Documentaries about the franchise accounted for just 0.2% of all viewing, and most of that was Ken. A New Hope was the most viewed title, followed by The Phantom Menace, and then Rogue One. I'm trying to put in some heavy lifting on the documentaries too, but I know I know how much you love a documentary, Ken. So we'll talk about that. Those numbers sound real big. I don't have a context for like how does that compare to Star Trek on Paramount or Game of Thrones on HBO Max. But it is nice when we're surrounded by a decent amount of snarkiness about Star Wars. That hey, people are still watching away. So, Ken, what do you read into that percentages of most watched in 2025?
And that number one, Star Wars is still pretty popular. It's still pretty loved across many generations. I think it's fascinating in terms of the movies that it is one from each era, I'll say. And I've already seen that spun out on social media as a shot against the sequels. I've seen that, the top 10 list. But it to me, it shows this still has legs. It seems like I'm saying something that's the obvious, but that this isn't just being released and put into the void. And like a lot of the general public or society or the snark misers out there would have you believe it's all done, that these things continue to be watched and enjoyed and rediscovered for a while, for a long time. Well after the debacle of season 8, depending on your, Game of Thrones point of view, it was still the number one stream show on HBO. It was still going, but despite everyone telling you so that to me is exciting to hear that it, like I said, still has legs. We have a good foundation to build on.
Yeah, I mean, I think because we are all in fans and in general on ForceCenter, people who are positive, even when there's something we don't like, that we're affected by the snark that you see on social media. But it is just a great reminder to just step back and just be like, there are a ton of people who do not live their lives in podcasts. They do not live their lives in social media, and Star Wars is one of the most popular things that exists. So folks are going to give it a try. Like my friend Jessica, she's like, yeah, I'll watch them someday. Yeah. I mean, I want to know about the Star Wars.
Tell me more.
People want to know about the Star Wars. I think the most watched part of it is very interesting to me because as soon as you see something like that, I think, people are going to, find a way to load this into their perspective of the discourse. But for me, it's like, well, A New Hope and The Phantom Menace are the jumping on points. And it was very interesting to me that I just had this conversation with my friend Jessica of like, those are the two films that people have tried to get me to watch multiple times to get me started on the journey. So if they're the most watched, I bet it's just because people are like, let me give this a shot. And then Rogue One, also not surprising because of the Andor connection in 2025. I mean, how many people finished season 2 of Andor and then just immediately watched Rogue One? And I still stick to Rogue One remains the safest Star Wars movie to bring up at a party if you don't want conflict. How do you feel about those particular films being the most watched?
I think your breakdown is absolutely correct, because it speaks to, oh, you must start with episode 4, or no, you need to go episode 1. Which also gives me hope that the machete order I despise so much is not being used as much. The Rogue One thing, yeah, I just ran into this week. I was a guest on a podcast that will come out this week. I'll let you all know about it. It's a comic book podcast. And Star Wars was the topic. That's why I was on there. And Rogue One came up, and it was the most charming, wonderful, not in the Star Wars bubble conversation with these hosts, Chris, Peter, and Taffeta. And Chris was like, Rogue One's my favorite, right? It's just, and he was just so excited to be like, it's like a war film, like, but he had no idea the discourse around anything. But also, I was like, yeah, that makes sense for somebody like you, elder millennial, and this Rogue One hits and strikes that chord, so it makes sense. I think your breakdown is perfect.
Yeah. Yeah, that's really cool to hear about the podcast. The comic book folks, they like Rogue One too. Yeah, it just feels silly to me to read much more into it. Like, it's not a popularity contest. It's not like, on January 1st, 2025, the world was assigned.
Right.
Vote by watch it,
Yep.
So let's talk about the pain of those documentary numbers. Like, I knew they'd be low. But come on, man, 0.2%. I've watched Empire of Dreams. Like, I watched it in 2025. I just watched it again. I haven't watched as many of the, Disney Gallery as we use, because we used to cover them, and they used to make a bigger deal out of them, a bigger presentation. And now they're just sort of like, here's one about the Acolyte. Don't make as big a deal out of them. So how do you feel about those documentary numbers?
I mean, Maddie Warner in chat said it perfectly. Ken has Empire of Dreams on loop on the screen in his house. Yeah, that's not untrue. I just watched it last week, like in the middle of my Mando rewatch. Just put it on. It's a great thing to have on the background and to pop on in. And anytime Alan Ladd Jr. Is on the screen, I come in to listen because he's so soft spoken. Yeah, I mean, it's not surprising. I along with you and maybe others, are the walking, living embodiment of the middle-aged male documentary thing. And it's not just that. It's not just those folks that watch them. But yeah, I have the ILM one on a lot. I watched the first episodes a lot. I'm with you on Empire Dreams. Disney Gallery, don't watch as much. You're right. It did kind of, not the... It just changed. The approach changed, and some of them, I feel, towards the end became more like extended EPK, electronic press kit kind of stuff. So I'd like more. I hope there's more. I think, though, anyone who makes a documentary, anyone who exhibits one, knows that they're speaking to that 0.2%, and that's their goal.
And many people are bringing up, and by many I mean two. Laserbolts Vid says, I love rewatching the ILM doc. Amran says the ILM doc Light and Magic is fantastic. I wonder if that made the cut as being included in Star Wars documentaries, or if that was too broad. Is this in the breakdown of Jurassic Park numbers?
Yeah.
Obviously, I think it is directly related and should be, but it is totally understandable. And maybe those kind of numbers are why they aren't putting their backs into Disney Gallery, and they are. I agree with you. They are a little bit more press releasey. Those first ones were just like Jon Favreau's like, I'm gonna record 18 hours of conversations. And
John was like, hey, I had this series called Dinner 5 or Party 5. Let's just do that. Can we do that?
Yeah. My best wishes to the editors.
Truly.
Yeah. So the article goes on to discuss some of the television statistics in 2025. Andor was the most viewed live action series with 7.4 billion minutes, boosted by the fact that the show released its highly anticipated second season between April and May 2025. It made the Nielsen Top 10 Streaming Originals chart for 6 weeks straight in that time. After Andor, Skeleton Crew, and The Mandalorian were the most viewed shows. So, again, this takes, you got to pay attention. This is from 2025, and Skeleton Crew had just finished its run. So I think a lot of people were catching up with it. But seeing it in any sort of list of most watched made my heart full. What are your hopes for that show in the year 2026 now?
Number one, that just keeps getting discovered. That more Star Wars fans who maybe didn't pick up on it, felt they'd heard it was too kiddie or whatever, will just discover it. It might have legs. A lot of people hope that with the Acolyte numbers sometimes back that up too. But will it lead to those characters continuing in some way, shape, or form? Not necessarily Skeleton Crew season 2, but popping up other things. I hope so. I still think Skeleton Crew is one of the best things they've done. It's personally one of my favorites, and almost in a way where even when I rewatched it, I was like, I knew I loved it. I didn't know I loved it this much. Like it hits on so many Star Wars cylinders. Yeah, it's encouraging. I like it. Again, you're very right with the numbers and the timing. It's like, yeah, of course, in 2027, maybe this would mean more, but I like where it is.
Yeah. Laserbolt Vids is clarifying that the ILM documentary is in the Star Wars section, so I might be full of hooey. Those numbers should be higher then.
They should
really, because that ILM documentary is phenomenal. And Svetnik says, Skeleton Crew needs more love. Anyone I know who watched it loved it, but I feel like people in general didn't watch. Yeah, I really hope that it continues to find its audience and grow. I think it was kind of in this rough spot that it was released after Disney had shifted strategy. You know, I think at the time that it was commissioned, it was sort of all hands on deck for let's expand the Mandoverse. And by the time they released it a year after it had been completed, it's like, we already made it. You might as well have it. But I don't feel like, you know, the strategy changed to whatever the new strategy is going to be. I do feel like I've talked to a lot of people who either still don't want to watch it because they insist that it is only for kids. I have talked to a couple grumps who don't think the kids are good actors. And that's one of those times you just have to say, like, well, you are the main character in your story, and and sometimes I understand your world, and other times I can't understand your world, but I respect it. And I don't understand that world where those kids are bad actors, but I respect it. Annoying in particular. The kids were annoying and like.
What does that say about that? Yeah, anyway,
yeah. Who knows? Who knows? Right, who knows?
Acting performances get hit differently. In case I have some acting performances in Star Wars I don't like that other people love. I get that, but yeah, I faced that too. I had that a real wonderful friend, a wonderful, thoughtful, deep-souled person was like, I tried watching that, man. Those kids sucked. I was like, what, you? Like even you said that? Come on.
I mean, I think for me, I feel like the character of Wim on paper is got to be careful with that. And I think they did a really good job of it. I think they gave him enough heart that he didn't just come across as the wild kid who's bumping into stuff and screaming all the time, you know?
Yeah. Yeah. Neil, come on. Neil's a star. They're all stars. Anyways. And not for nothing, the Jude Law performance, and Jude Law might not be for everyone, and including maybe some of his personal decisions in life. I know that comes up in some conversations too. I get it. I'm not endorsing anything he's done in relationships. I'm just saying his character just still speaks to me too. So love it. Good numbers.
Yeah. I'm very, very happy to see any good numbers. And you know what? I think it will grow too, because I think, there was it also came out at a time where there was a lot of snarkiness and maybe fed upness with too many Disney Plus shows. And I think that has affected both Marvel and Star Wars. And I think Skeleton Crew is probably the show that took the most brunt from just not being watched. But I think it will continue to grow and we'll find an audience. And maybe here's my pitch, Ken. Okay. Skeleton Crew season 2 in 2032. It's easy to say. It rolls off the tongue. You can start a hashtag. Perfect. If people still do those.
I think so. I don't know. Yes. Yeah.
So getting on to the other part of this. So Andor makes sense. We talked about Skeleton Crew, but then Mandalorian in 2025 was the other most viewed show. Why do you think it remained so strong in 2025? The third season of Mandalorian was released in spring of 2023. So why did Mando keep performing?
I think it's still one of those shows that really struck a chord with the general audiences. I think you cannot deny the power of Grogu. I think that's one of the things going into this movie that I think they're leaning on Grogu. They're doing a great job with the marketing, but people you and I know who just aren't Star Wars fans and actually are quite cynical about pop culture are like, but I love that Grogu. Like, I think that goes a long way. I also think it's an easy to watch, entertaining show. And even though it does grow and get more connected to the larger Star Wars galaxy, I still feel you could just, put it on, watch it, enjoy it, and stay in that close, little Mando universe there. And I think that carries the day with a lot of folks too. It's an easy rewatch. In case I ended up watching like 3 episodes yesterday. When I was planning to watch a half of one because I need to finish it.
Yeah, no, I am so enjoying this rewatch. With a little bit of step back from discussing it and just letting it roll out, and just that core relationship is so strong. And I've seen some of them, these Grogu moments, and talked about some of these Grogu moments 1,000 times. I'm still like, damn,
Yeah.
that puppet got me. That puppet got me in the emotions again. And I think just reconnecting with Favreau's approach of often minimal dialogue, often kind of stylized, very blunt dialogue, but within that, just this real commitment to less is more. And the way that relationship grows from just seeing little peeks and snippets, and you learn so much from Mando turns his head and we push in on his helmet a little bit, and you know what he's thinking and what he's feeling, or you're intrigued to lean in and go, what's he going to do? It's really, I think, with all of the back and forth about Star Wars, about is Grogu overexposed? Did people like season 3? Just going back to those first 2 seasons, like there's a reason this was a hit,
Yeah, absolutely. I think you're absolutely right. It is. It's been long enough that you can forget the fever that took over pop culture.
It's been really, really fun. My other question about Mandalorian remaining popular in 2025, when the 3rd season wasn't out yet and we didn't know what was really happening. I think the film was announced in 2025, so maybe that goosed it. But I have this question for you, Ken. Do you think, you said it was an easy watch? Do you think The Mandalorian is the Office of Star Wars? Is it a comfort watch that people might be rewatching?
That's a good point. I absolutely think you're right. It is the thing to have on, and comfort, and you know what, I want to watch Star Wars. It's an easier investment. Not that it's not deep and poignant and with great purpose, but yeah, I think you're absolutely right. It's that kind of we don't have syndication like we used to, if at all, and so just that you could turn to a channel at 10 p.m. and get 2 back-to-back episodes of insert show you loved, Wings. 2 back-to-back episodes of Wings on USA. I think you're right. I think it's right there.
Yeah, it'd be very interesting to see what happens to the show as it goes on, and I can't wait to get to season 3. We've got people debating back and forth, the old season 3 debate about some people feel like people are too hard on it, and other people can't quite get into it as much as season 1 and 2. So I can't wait to rewatch it in the flow.
Right.
Finally, Nielsen broke down what Star Wars content is most popular by age group for the first quarter of 2026. The Mandalorian is the most popular among Gen Alpha and baby boomers.
Together at last.
Together. Finally, they agree on something. It's The Mandalorian. While Gen Z is into the animated series The Clone Wars, while millennials and Gen X enjoyed Andor the most. All right, Ken.
Of course.
We talked about, what age do you have to be where long hair is a signifier of liking Star Wars? Now we can talk about this other cultural truths. What deep truths of generational perspective do you glean from this Star Wars Nielsen rating?
Fascinated by the first one. The Mandalorian is the most popular by Gen Alpha and baby. Gen Alpha is, what's the peak on that age? Does anyone know out there? I know it's young. I know it's the next up and coming. They're the prospect generation. That makes sense. Again, I'll cite Grogu, Baby Yoda, whatever you want to call them. I think there's something there. I think it's not on the surface. It's not dense. You can just kind of watch it as it plays out and get it. And the themes and stuff will come later when you're older. And then the same for baby boomers who just they don't want time for themes. Art doesn't mean much. What are you talking about? Those comical booklets about X-Men? It's just silly kid stuff. But they're gonna watch it as well in that. And it feels, especially I think season 1 and 2. And I love season 3, as I know you do. I get the complaints and see the warts on it, but I love it a lot. But I think season 1 and 2 have New Hope vibes in a way that is different from other things in the Star Wars live action world. Not necessarily counting the movies, but if you're putting on a show, Office, the Star Wars Office, that one has the most adventure serial DNA to me with New Hope.
Yeah, I think that is an under-discussed part of it, of how friendly to new viewers that first season of Mandalorian is. And I think if you don't get too caught up in it, I'm watching season 2, and like you get that Boba Fett's another bounty hunter. You get that Ahsoka Tano is a Jedi. Like, I mean, I get for all in fans, it's like, okay, now it's expanded to the galaxy. But if you're a baby boomer like my dad, and my dad's like, I should catch up on Star Wars sometime. And I think he thinks there's like maybe 2 movies he hasn't seen since 1983. And I don't think he understands what that means.
Yeah.
And every time he's like, maybe I'll get that Disney Plus for a week or so. And like, yeah, you got to watch The Mandalorian, because I think maybe it's not as simple as this, but Gen Alpha might be there for the baby, and baby boomers might be there for the grumpy old Western gunslinger. Whose life is hard. I mean, it just, my dad, out of every bit of Star Wars ever, he still remembers Han Solo saying, never tell me the odds,
Right.
He would love Din Djarin.
Oh yeah.
And I'd be very curious to watch. That first season would be great for him, and then I wonder if the later seasons would shake him. But for me, I'm curious about how much baby boomers are like, I saw some of those Star Wars when my kids were young, and now I'll give it a chance. And The Mandalorian is the one that works.
Yeah. Now that makes sense. Yeah. Again, yeah. Your dad could probably live in the Marshall episode, just over and over and over again. I think you're right.
Yeah. People are people are discussing the Gina Carano of it all, which is we did an episode long ago about the choices that she made, and the choice that was made in response for some of the in my opinion awful things that she said and supported, and that is that is a rough spot of rewatching these episodes. Ken, do you feel the need to wade in any deeper than that?
I mean, she's still a horrible actress. That's true. Yeah, we'll see. Yeah, I know there's those rumors of her returning, and I'm going to be honest, that doesn't surprise me. So that's a different conversation for another day.
Yeah. Yes. We will. We can go in deeper if need be, but yeah, I would not. We can talk about it later. Sorry. So let's talk about the other generations here, Ken. As we've covered baby boomers and Gen Alpha, like in The Mandalorian. Let's talk about Gen Z being into the Clone Wars. I know we got a bunch of folks in our community who are animated, passionate. Gen Z. That's the age of my nieces and nephews, so I get a little bit more time talking to them. And one of the main things I talk to them about is anime. So I wonder if that is a big part of it. But what are your Gen Z liking Clone Wars insights?
I think you're absolutely right. I think I have to sync up. I'm so lost on the generational ages these days. I was having a conversation. I was like, I thought someone was old millennial. They're Gen Z. I forget the dividing lines. I know I'm just barely in Gen X. I think because the Clone Wars was the entry point for a lot of them, right? If you're young and they didn't worry about Zero the Hutt's voice or anything. They sat down and watched that on either in the theater or started the series or Cartoon Network or whatever it was. I think that explains a lot for me, and they were able to see it in a way that other generations maybe struggled to see it first, including me and mine. But I think that's kind of where it's at. And you're right, yeah. Anime and all the stuff, I think it's discussed a lot more than I remember it as a kid. Back in my day, we didn't discuss it as much.
Yeah. Yeah, I really agree with that. I think it is, my oldest nephew was born 2000, and my youngest, like 2008. So like around kind of, the right age for either watching the Clone Wars, or if they walked through the toy aisle, that's what was there. If they saw a commercial, that's what was there. If they went to, Best Buy and looked at DVDs, that's what was there. So I think it was also just in the osmosis, as well as, that age group seeming very, very friendly to animation.
Yeah, I think that's it.
Mm-hmm. Friend Lauren Romo is here. Says, my family, who is not deep Star Wars viewers, Mando grabbed their attention. They've continued to follow the series. Mando did a great job of appealing to a bigger general audience. That is great. Now, perhaps our favorite, Ken, is to be grumpy about our own age group. Millennials and Gen X enjoyed Andor the most. This is less surprising to me than the documentary numbers.
Yeah.
How do you feel about that?
Yeah, I mean, it tracks. And again, I feel I have to say this caveat every time. Hot damn, that's one of my favorite things ever. Hot damn, I love every second of Andor. It's my favorite in terms of acting performances are up there with it. It's just, absolutely, all the praise it deserves it. But this is what you and I are talking about. It is so much of the, you forget that you were 7, 8, 9, 10 when you fell in love with Star Wars in 77, 80, or 83. You forget that. And you almost willingly forget it. And Gen X, because we were at the center of a lot of the pop culture explosion that we are all still living in, whether you like it or not, I think we still feel we own it. And that's a lot of the conversations, right? It's not just that I love Andor. It's like, well, it's the best one, right? The rest is eh. And again, individual series, your taste may vary, but I have declared war on my own generation and the elder millennials. I have absolutely. I continue to do it. I continue to do it in conversations. And I'm so thankful for the ForceCenter friends that we have that are not that. Amaranth saying, I'm Gen X, Heart of Gen X. Yeah, it's possible. It's possible to grow and change both in Star Wars and the real world and social issues. But yes.
Yes, I try to have respectful discourse with my generation. Unless I'm taking a shower, then I'm at war in my own mind with our generation sometimes. It's just funny to me that there is a I won't speak to elder millennials, but certainly for Gen X, I think we've talked about this before, kind of, I think, relatively early because of the difficult times we're living in. Darker was better. I remember when the first season of 24 came out and Gen X was like, hey, they actually kill characters. Great. Like, that was like, if you ask somebody for a recommendation for a movie or show, like, well, do they kill their characters? Do they put them through absolute hell? Like, yeah. And I think there was just a sort of like, the sitcoms we grew up with had laugh tracks and everything felt fake. And so it felt real to have the world is rough. People die. It's gritty. There's violence. There isn't a bunch of cute crap around, because I feel like that was the horror that we were dealing with many crises in the real world.
Yeah.
But I went through a process of like, there were times in life where I couldn't be sincere. And when I started doing my first podcast, Obsessed, and I had to have like guests on, and I wasn't just like doing comedy, I realized like I had to greet people nicely, because my friends group was like, if somebody just showed up and was like, nice sweater, everybody would be like, what do you, my sweater's dumb. And so here's a list of dumb sweaters. There's just, there was a lot of us who just like, didn't know how to do, positivity.
Nice. Positivity.
Any positivity was seen as inauthentic. And I just do feel like there's still lots of holdovers from that. Where people didn't and it's different with my friend group now. A lot of people have grown, but I just like, there was a comment, and I have no idea the age, but I think we saw it a couple times on our YouTube channel of like, yeah, I agree, love them all, and we have to go from this to cutesy time baby show with Mando. So I think there is still a pushback of anything too cute or funny or sweet is somehow disingenuous, or a real side eye to it, a real side eye and rejection that goes beyond taste, that goes beyond, I didn't like the way that joke was executed. Sorry for the diatribe. How are you feeling about this?
No, I agree with you. I absolutely agree with you. And well, on some levels, I can understand, I can engage with people on it, right? I've been there too. I was a Dark Knight over Avengers guy, because I liked what Nolan did with that Batman. I liked it. I don't know. I still like them, but I don't know. I haven't watched them in a while. I'm also not a huge superhero fan, so maybe I'm not the test market there. But I understand it. I understand it, right? Like when you're in the mood for something. Like I understand that when I watch Andor and I watch the other shows, I see the difference. I understand the difference. There comes with this. Yeah, there's this disconnection from joy, not just your inner child, but just your inner sense of fun and hope and promise that's easy to be drilled out of all of us these days. I get that. But I just again had that conversation. Well, George says it's for 12-year-olds conversation where I'm always like, yeah, but that doesn't mean 4-year-olds. That's part of it. And as a business, I think it's smart they have Star Wars kids. I think that's smart they have young Jedi adventures. I do think it's good business to hook them in young, if you want to say that word, say it like that. But I think you forget that George was like, no, I'm speaking to the ones who are about to become adults. Like that's the core of it, and that's a little younger, a little different than maybe what you want. I don't know. We could go on forever and ever and ever, but in the end of the day, I think Gen X still does feel they own all of it, and that's part of the problem.
I think there's a part of it, and I think I've certainly anecdotally talked to lots of elder millennials, people like 10 years younger than us, who grew up on their older siblings or their parents' VHSs, right. And I think have similar kind of experience. A couple good comments here. Just another Dickut says, love hearing an obsessed mention. Still listen to back episodes that one occasionally. Oh, thank you. That's great. Matthew awesome. Stokes, my fellow Twin Peaks fan, says, I watched Twin Peaks when I was 13. Hell of a gear change from what I was watching when I was 12. Yeah, I think I was 15 when it started and when I watched it. And Agent Cooper also helped me chill out a little bit. Also want to, a lot of people are sharing, I think, a great perspective on Andor. Going back to Richie Photo here, says, Gen X here, we're living through Andor. Agreed. Amaranth also says, living through Andor now is why I don't regularly rewatch Andor, because it's a helpful watch and a hard watch. And Lauren Romo says, as an elder millennial, I loved Andor. Connected with me more due to the age that I'm at and what I enjoy as Star Wars at a time versus what I enjoyed as a younger person. Yeah, I think we should not overlook the relevance of Andor. We can get can get caught up in the style of presentation and the, what does that say about different generations and ability to allow for silly and light and fun stuff in Star Wars. But yeah, the fact that it's, very, very, very painfully relevant is a huge amount of its popularity. I agree.
Yeah, what Romo said there is the very good way of saying, but I like Andor more because the other stuff is a little different. She's like, I've grown up and this is hitting me here now because other things are not going to hit me as much because I am not 12, 15, 20, 21, 25. I'm here and I'm here now. And I think that's why there's value in Andor, or value in even Maul Shadow Lord, which I think is got an Andor spirit at the center of it. And I do think, it's not something that I've changed my opinion on. I've refined my defensiveness when people are like, we need an R-rated Star Wars. I know what that person means, but I also know what that could mean, and something what Lauren is saying there, something akin to that.
Yes. Yeah, no, and I get it. I love watching, some of the sillier stuff or the lighter stuff. The Pelimoto stuff is, there's meaning to it and there's heart to it, but it's, broad comedy, old school broad vaudeville shtick. And I enjoy that. And then I also go enjoying Andor and watching these people go through a horrific time facing this. And I think Nemec's manifesto is just, it is so fantastic, particularly the concept of everything matters. Like you can take some big swings, but everything we do pushes our line forward is so important to me right now. All right, so we have had lots of general conversation. Ken, what do you think is your most watched Star Wars on Disney Plus personally? Is it Empire of Dreams?
No, it probably is. All jokes aside, it's probably Empire of Dreams, followed by Solo, and then it actually probably goes to Phantom Menace. I like having Phantom Menace on a lot. It's a good comfort Star Wars watch for me now, and I think that would be there as well. But yeah, definitely Solo. Definitely Solo is my most enjoyed Star Wars film of the modern era, and I love all of them. There's something about it, and I love just putting it on and while I'm making lunch or doing other things, or sometimes just sitting down and watching it. But again, Empire of Dreams has I have it memorized. I have it memorized. I could do a Rocky Horror Picture Show dialogue, sing along to it. But it's just great comfort, and it inspires me all over again. I really do love it, and it's on a lot.
A lot of scenes of smooching.
A lot of smooching. A lot of smooching in
it. Here's a nice comment from Advent. Says, I think the FC motto that Star Wars is a fast buffet. A simple steak and potatoes is as good as the mango and sticky rice is as good as the pancakes with whipped cream clown face. Agreed. Jeannie from Tahini says, whoops, authority is brittle. Run through my head once a day. Speaking of the Nemec Manifesto. One other perspective I wanted to share on Andor. From the Mandalorian says, living through Andor makes me, and I suspect a lot of people, want a couple of hours of fun pew-pew distraction. The Fae is there to help you rub your nose in it and take a break from it. Yeah. I wondered about this for the Nielsen's, Ken. My honest most watched Star Wars is random 30-second scenes of movies for me to grab a screenshot for thumbnails. Like that. Because I have everything on disc, that is what I open up the most. We have the season 1 and 2 of Mandalorian, so we're watching them on disc. I have the season 3. It would be Kenobi because I've rewatched Kenobi the most of the shows, but I have Kenobi on disc. So I don't know. Maybe I'll just have to. Maybe mine is Empire of Dreams too because I've watched it 2 times recently. Yeah.
Do they have the count? I miss the old iTunes day. Remember you had the counter and how many times you played, Jeff Buckley's Last Goodbye? Like, 4,352 times.
Yeah, I would love that. I would love that. Different streamer, but I was also obsessed with Netflix number of its match. What percentage of a match? The most watched thing for me on Netflix is the Clone Wars. I watched the Clone Wars like 5 times on Netflix before it left, and it was still like, this is like a 97% match. It's like, what's it gonna take, Netflix? What's it gonna take?
Love that.
Anyway, lots of great thoughts in the chat. We got, I'm hitting random. No, I do not want to reload site. One last story to get through again. It is 2. Anyway, I'm very tired. So there was some news about the Star Wars exhibit at George Lucas's Museum of Narrative Art. To celebrate May the 4th, the Lucas Museum of Narrative Art announced today some details about its inaugural cinema exposition titled Star Wars in Motion. Here's the official museum press release. The exhibition Star Wars in Motion will transport museum visitors to a galaxy far, far away through a selection of visionary vehicle designs, props, costumes, and illustrations from across the first 6 films of George Lucas's saga, featuring a wide range of high-speed racers, hulking transport vehicles, and flying vessels, from Luke's Landspeeder to the first physical build of General Grievous's wheel bike. The Lucas Museum's inaugural cinema exposition will dazzle audiences with the possibilities of propulsive motion on distant and exotic worlds. So, I think that we'll talk a little bit about how I think Lucas probably knew that it's kind of a business necessity to have some Star Wars at the beginning. The press release is very careful to say many times inaugural, meaning this is not a permanent exhibit. It's the one we're opening with, and something else will get cycled in. Of all things Star Wars that Lucas could have started with, what do you take from him choosing Star Wars in motion?
I mean, this is a man obsessed with speed, racing, cars, zoom. This is something that was, I think, ingrained into his storytelling DNA and obviously big to his life. So I think that's why it's still probably there. And there's something to me about tech in motion, about how they did it, how they made it, how it was up on screen. And this is someone faster, more intense. We make the jokes. That's mostly with actors, but I think this captures George's desire to have a story that just moves and cooks and zings and sings through canyons and caverns and trenches. I think it does make sense for George, the car racer.
Yeah, no, absolutely. I think it is. I like the choice because it does feel personal. It feels like this is a part of everything in Star Wars has some stamp of George Lucas's, idiosyncrasy as a human being. But like, yes, the legend of I wanted to be a racer but I crashed my car. That's why I made Star Wars. But then, but I think it goes on a deeper level, and I'd be interested to see if anything's connected. A lot of people talk about the differences between Lucas's other two feature films before Star Wars of THX 1138 is very artsy and it's dystopian, and it is what would become the Empire in Star Wars in many ways. And then American Graffiti is lighter, funnier. I think the DJ Wolfman Jack is the first idea of the Force. Everybody is connected to this thing they can all hear in the night. Very, very different styles of storytelling, and everybody says American Graffiti is the rebels. But THX 1138 is all about people being trapped, not being able to move fast enough until there's an amazingly shot car race toward the end. And American Graffiti is all about people feeling stuck in their old life and afraid to move forward. And so they race cars in their small town. And Star Wars is, the first one at least, Luke and Han both kind of feel trapped in their lives, but they like to go fast. And they get to go fast. And I just think it's beyond Star Wars. It's such a passion. It's such a metaphor for narrative stasis that is then changed by propulsive motion.
Absolutely. And it's Museum of Narrative Art. George is all in on explain the narrative. Can't wait.
Yep. So what part of that exhibit are you most excited to see? What do you get out of seeing like vehicles like that in person?
For me, if the land speeder is there, the wheel bike, all the stuff, it's just it just really transports me into the story like I was a kid again. I fall for that stuff, Hell, I was at the Funko Pop store in LA 4 years ago for a shoot, and they had a Funko Pop land speeder you could sit in. It was the greatest thing. I just sat in it like, yay. I at least, I think others would agree, like I still have the little kid imagination on this stuff, right? I still can grab an empty cardboard tube of a paper towel and make a lightsaber sound or a blaster sound. I think it's there. And so this is a great exhibit that's about narrative art and all that stuff, but hey, that's the thing. Oh my gosh, that's the thing. And I wish I was in the thing. I'm going to sit in the thing. Can I sit in the thing? I can't. Okay, I'm going to leave, but I want to be in the thing.
I like the idea that people who walk into the museums, how much to sit in the thing?
Can I sit in the thing?
The land speeder, I don't know if it's a model. I don't know if it was really one of the ones that was used, but the original would blow my mind, that amount of connection to fantasy far away. And I love the idea of taking something in the sequel that wasn't physically real and building it, because that's what the press release says, the first physical build of the wheel bike. Very cool. I love seeing things up close because you could just see the beauty of the art, just the scratches and the dents and all the pieces literally coming together. It's also just like a very visceral reminder of the real world work and talent of like somebody glued every little cog onto that wheel bike, Yeah,
I'm thinking back to you and I going to the Mando exhibit at Anaheim Celebration, and how much fun that was, and how it did transport us into the galaxy, but also, like you said, paid homage to the people that made it, the humans.
Yeah, and maybe I've never watched Mando in 4K. It doesn't pick up that the armor's chest plate has this slight hint of sparkle, like a 1960s Rogers drum set. It's amazing, and you only see it in person.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. We talked a little bit about this, but I want to get your take. I think that Lucas probably does feel compelled to include a Star Wars exhibit because he is just forever tied to that, to the museum's opening, because otherwise everybody would be where's the Star Wars. And I'm sure that maybe he has mixed feelings about that, because I think he's very, very proud of Star Wars, but I think also he's like, I am more, and I have done other things. So my question to you, Ken, is if there was a Ken Napzok museum of, broadcasting arts, what would you feel pressured to include, whether you wanted to or not?
It's so funny you asked this. I was going through some storage stuff and seeing what I can get rid of and everything. And I stumbled onto my Drunk Movie Fights Championship belt. I hadn't seen it in a while. And I both am as proud as I can be about that moment and almost want nothing to do with it. So I imagine I'd have to have something like that. Welcome to the Schmodown wing of the Ken Napzok Museum. Welcome to the Screen Junkies wing. Here's the Pit Boss sunglasses. I got tired of hearing that name after a while, but at the same time, I love it. And now, years removed, if you say it, it makes me laugh. So I think that's what it'd be. I could put that belt on display. I still have it all wrapped up nicely.
Yeah, that's great. That's a great answer. Yeah, I think it's really fascinating, and I'm total, conjecture about Lucas. I don't have a mind meld with the man, but I just think it's an interesting thing, especially in this era that we live in now, where really to get a lot of things done in life, especially anything that needs people to give you time or eyes or money, you got to put yourself out there, and the best way to do that is branding. And I definitely have that experience of I'm proud of just about everything I've done that I've put a public face on, but it can be sort of, you can feel limiting when people are like, I know you as this, so that is all you are. And so me, it's never about like, I dislike this part of myself. It's that I want to be my full and complex self,
Yep. Again, I think we all can struggle with that. And George, I don't think George is, above or ashamed or distant from Star Wars. It's just he felt he knows it's the biggest part of his life, but I think he also still looked at it as just part of it, what he was doing, That whole thing of whatever, I'm going to sell it, retire, and go make experimental art films for my friends, which I don't know if that ever did happen. I would love to know.
Yes.
Amazing.
Yeah, and I mean, in some of his talk around, the prequel trilogy was like, well, I had to finish this story I started, and Empire Dreams. He certainly is like, I made a monster and it consumed my soul, and that, and then what's the first thing he does? Spend his personal money on making an animated series in the Clone Wars with his characters that he loves, So there is definitely like a push-pull in the way that he talks about it, which is fascinating. Yeah.
Absolutely.
Well, in my museum, I'm plenty of displays of action figures and martini glasses to just combine two things I love that are also my social media branding.
A wall of frozen pizza boxes. Your favorites, your worst, least favorite.
I already collect too many things. I can't start like this is the frozen pizza box from the night I saw the Mandalorian and Grogu. This is the frozen pizza my wife had and I had after a dance show. Like, oh my, can't even. Oh wow. Anyway, here is the actual final story of the day. This comes to us from Star Wars Newsnet. Actor Michael Pennington has passed away at the age of 82. He portrayed Tion Gerard, the Imperial Moff, who oversaw the completion of the second Death Star in Return of the Jedi. Also added to special edition recuts of The Empire Strikes Back via archival footage. So Gerard is a big favorite around these parts. I love him. I know you do. When did that happen? When did you gravitate toward Gerard and why?
I was reading the Return of the Jedi novelization, so this would be probably maybe junior high, but I was like, again, this is a time where you're not broadcasting that you're a Star Wars fan, but you also didn't feel the need to either have to. It just was this thing that was there, and yes, there was some nerd shame around it or something like that, but it wasn't, it was just part of my resume of who I am. But I think it was, I got 10th or 11th grade. I was in an art class and they were looking for favorite quotations. And I just always loved, there's this, as Jar Jar is walking to meet Vader in the novelization, he has this internal monologue going that's fantastic. And he has this thing of this line of great men never hurry, great men cause others to hurry. I don't even know if I fully agree that philosophy or even understood it then. I just thought, I was like, that was great. I like that. I mean, that sounds deep. And I did like some art with that quote around it, attributed to Moff Gerard. We didn't know he was Tion then yet. And everyone, like my art teacher, who was a mentor of mine, it was just like, he thought it was funny, but everyone else was like, what? Who's that guy? Like, so I just from there just kind of became, before all of us nerds synced up and met together in the late 2000s and early 2010s and did all this stuff, I was in this corner of, am I the only one who knows this guy? And is I'm the only one that loves this guy. And he's an Imperial officer and all that stuff. But yeah, that's why. I actually just today put out a Blue Sky and Threads, the post of the in memoriam that I had done and Kevin Smets edited. That's the in memoriam to Moff Gideon, which incorporates the deleted scenes from Return of the Jedi of him not destroying Andor and killing his own troops as he was ordered by the Emperor as part of the plan. And I love kind of framing it as the last second redemption for this character I've always loved.
Yeah, I wasn't even aware of the deleted scenes for a long time. And I read the novelization, but it didn't stick with me. I think I really started to gravitate toward him when I finally had the original trilogy on VHS and was, rewatching it a lot in my teen years. I think he's such an important part of the shift in vibe in Return of the Jedi. Like, it's the Empire Strikes Back, and the Empire's the scariest thing ever. And then Vader is, he's slightly changed, he's still doing evil crap, but but the line to Luke of like, it's too late for me, my son. He's more like resigned of like, gotta be angry all the time, and the whole film is the hinge of, can Vader change?
Yeah.
I think Jar Jar's like a great companion to that, because he's a really different Imperial officer than we've seen. We've seen like cunning, sharp, vicious, with Tarkin. We've seen pompous, cynical, in Empire Strikes Back. We've seen strategist to not lose your position with Piet. Jar Jar's the first one who feels like, oh man, this could be somebody's dad who's just having a really bad day at the office. Like,
yes,
maybe a true believer, or maybe just like he comes across as, even without the deleted scenes where he refuses the order, he just comes across as like, I'm a middle manager. I got a job at Kinko's, and then Kinko's became evil, and now I can't get my work done. I can't make these copies fast enough, or a man in a mask will choke me to death from across space. Like that vibe is so powerful of just like a middle manager in total terror of sudden murder. It doesn't make the Empire sympathetic. It makes the Empire worse, because he's this tiny peek into the meat grinder. He in some ways, maybe he is sort of like the beginnings of a Dedra Amiro. Dedra is far worse, right? But the story of Dedra, the moral of Dedra, is no one's going to escape the meat grinder. And Jar Jar really just feels like he's a guy trapped in the meat grinder.
Yeah, great comments here that everyone's bringing. We shall double our efforts. He needs more men, says Jeannie from Deanie. Rock Bottle Art says, if there ever was a Star Wars The Office moment, Jar Jar could have totally done a look at the hard camera after his conversation with Vader. I think Jar Jar walked so Krennic and Miro and Partagaz and others could run of just the bureaucracy of the Empire from their point of view. And it very much is it. Like, my weird space wizard bosses literally want me to do something with no budget and no men. Like, honey, what am I supposed to do? Like what am I supposed to do?
Yeah. I need more men. It's a great performance too. It's whether it was directed by Richard Marquand or Lucas on set, or just a phenomenal choice from Michael Pennington, to have it be that sort of whispered.
Yeah.
Psst, I need more men.
I love it because it's like he's talking like, Darth, you know he's being difficult. I know you know. Just work with me here. Work with me.
I filled out the TPS reports. What else am I supposed to do? So we've talked about Jar Jar, the character, and what makes him so special. Of course, we want to talk about the actor, Michael Pennington. This is from Star Wars Newsnet. Pennington's career was one largely dedicated to adapting the works of William Shakespeare, between being trained to take part in the Royal Shakespeare Company early in his acting career to co-founding the English Shakespeare Company in 1968 and serving as artistic director until 1992. Pennington participated in productions across the Bard's extensive body of work. Outside of Shakespeare and Star Wars, Pennington also had several other notable roles across stage and screen, such as Sherlock Holmes in the television movie The Return of Sherlock Holmes, and Michael Foote in the film The Iron Lady. His final role was the voice of the Trust on 5 episodes of the cult classic HBO Max streaming series Raised by Wolves. So as always, some of these actors, their greatest fame will always be Star Wars, but they were much more than that. So always want to acknowledge that. Final question for the day, Ken. How much do you think the success of the original trilogy is down to all of these phenomenally trained, great, often stage, film, Shakespearean actors, often British, in small roles?
I think it builds, no pun intended, empires. I think that some of the larger shows and movies and franchises don't waste castings, and you get these talented people. And it never stops being fascinating to me. I know all these Kenneth Coley and Michael Pennington, all these people who were the Imperials. Like, I know where they came from. I get it. I still think of them as those characters, as we were just talking about with George. Like, maybe there's frustration. I think a lot of them probably enjoyed it and went on the circuit, the convention circuit, as I think they should. But yeah, it's absolutely key to the success. I absolutely, and it's sometimes frustrating, right? There's not a lot of work out here, and there's a smaller pool. There's a couple casting offices, and they pull from them, but they're fantastic. That's why I always look at shows like Game of Thrones, where there's like, they did not waste a day player, man. They did not. Everyone is top notch, A-level performances, and I think Andor carries that tradition on as well. So yeah, I think you're right.
Mm-hmm. Two very important comments. Maddie Warner, speaking for the UK, says we don't got much, but we got good actors. You also got good sandwiches, Maddie.
Yes, you do. Upper crust.
Yeah, and Amaranth says gravitas. Yes. Many performances benefited from the deep bench of talent in England, but the Empire in particular, I think it really helped to build the nuance and the flavor and the crisp officiousness. Just phenomenal.
Who knew British actors could tap into playing a large empire?
Yes. It's amazing. I was rewatching an episode of Twin Peaks, as I often do, and very controversial Twin Peaks opinion. I think all the actors are great. Yes, even James. But the actor Michael Parks, Ken, he passed away now. He has a role in Twin Peaks in a monologue, and I've seen it a million times. It's just like, this man knocked this out of the park. And he didn't have to. He was a day player on, a television show. And oh my gosh, just in small roles, when somebody's just like, other people might walk through this, but I'm going to give it everything. It's so great.
That's so great. I didn't know there was a controversy in Twin Peaks circus.
Oh yeah. Yeah. Some Twin Peaks, Facebook groups have to be like, we will not allow any negative comments of this nature, So
that's funny.
These things happen. All right. As promised, sorry, went a little long today. But Scott McCree's been asking this a couple different places. So he says, I'm on my 6th rewatch of Maul Spice Latte, Maul Shadow Lord. So good. Rest in peace, Spybot and Rook, 2 of the greatest warriors in Star Wars history. I am certain Rook programmed Spybot. Now, this is a thing that that I was left thinking about when it was just clear how much Spybot loved Maul, and in a show where Maul is got some push and pull about connection, how ignoring the connection he has, striving for a different connection with Devin, and here's this little evil doggy droid who loves him, wondering how did that happen. So it's a great theory that Rook programmed him. How do you feel about that theory?
I never thought about that much. I could make some sense, but was she kind of transferring? I felt there was some tension between Rook and Maul. I felt like there was some. I felt not that anything had happened. I don't think Maul's concerned with that, and maybe can't be. But maybe she transferred some love to Spybot. My thought is that Spybot, however he got programmed, there is some kind of adaptive learning going on there, that he genuinely was like, Maul, I love him.
Yeah, I really like this idea that that Rook would program him to be, an unyielding warrior who follows Maul with the same devotion that she did out of honor. And we see droids evolve from their programming the longer they're not wiped. And maybe he's just like, yes, loyalty. Yes. God, look at him do those workouts. He's like, as Ken said, look at Maul doing the beginning of the Die Hard 2. Look at that. Look at that. Oh, he's so great. He's so great. And just fell in love.
I think it's possible. Good stuff. Good stuff.
And we got some Amaranth was worried that of all Spybot's line, Maul was worried. Right up there with Scan the Chaos.
Yes, indeed.
Yeah. And lots of hope for Spybot's return.
Spybot 2.0.
We will leave it on that. Ken, take us home.
I'll take us home with a quick other center question from Detective Michael McCarsell, who says, will the upcoming comedy show be recorded and available for purchase for those who aren't local and can't watch the support? So, of course, Michael's talking about this, which is the Night of Star Wars comedy at Flappers, featuring me and Joseph Scrimshaw, kind of anchoring the show with some wonderful performers, Mike Black, Jackie Kashian, who I think is absolutely one of the best comics working today, and Josh Snyder. And some surprises. Might be doing some giveaways. Yeah. So usually they do tape. They do tape it like a VHS tape. No, they do record it. I'll try to see if I can get all of it, and if it is good enough, not in terms of performance, but the video is not below our standards. Absolutely, maybe it's something we'll do included on a Patreon tier here at ForceCenter.
Yeah, that'd be very cool, very fun. Pressure's on to do a good set.
I gotta get some people. Gotta get some people there to make that crowd pop, because one thing about comedy recordings is the audiences are never mic'd up, so everything seems distant. Every laugh you did get seems to vanish on tape. Fun. That is it. Yeah, we're out of here. So come on out May 24th if you're local, Burbank, 5 p.m. Flappers Comedy Club. Going to be a lot of fun. And don't forget to find us on social media at ForceCenter Pod. We are available as a podcast, a lot of spots. Just search to find us. On Sundays, we rebroadcast audio only. Databank Brawl, our series from 2016 to 2020. So check that out. You can get merch at TeePublic or the aforementioned Fourth Wall. And like we said, support us on Patreon at patreon.com/ForceCenter. You get in the Discord, you get bonus shows, and also you get the phone line. You can call in on our show, ForceCenter Now. Just don't call from cars. Michael McCarsell has followed the rules since, and it's been great. You can follow me at Ken Napzok. Catch up with my show, The Blathering Live, live weekly, about 3 times a week. And my website, kennapzok.com, has links to all of it, including tickets to that comedy show if you're local. Joseph, you got a lot of things going on your YouTube channel, so let's tell them about it.
Yeah, if you want to visit, watch, like, subscribe on my YouTube channel, that would be fantastic. Put out over the last couple of months a bunch of short films that add up to over an hour of entertainment, thrills, chills, Ken, in many of the shorts. The most recent one is called Victim 7. I'm really proud of it. I think it's very cathartic for some of the things that we're all dealing with these days. And my friend Jessica, who believes that Star Wars fans have long hair, stars in that particular episode. So go check it out. A couple of comments I want to acknowledge here very quickly. Evan says, thank you guys. Let Jennifer Landa know that she is missed. We will. We've been in touch with Jennifer and hope to have more news soon. And the Kelly Kid, kind super chat. Are you getting a panel at Star Wars Celebration? LA 27. The future is always in motion. We shall see. Thank you for requesting it and the kind words in the chat.
Absolutely. All right. That is it. We'll see you all next time here on ForceCenter.